Check, check, check. What's up, y'all? Morning, morning. Everything sound okay? Can you guys hear me? Game audio. Oh. Check, check, check. What's up, y'all? Sounds good. Morning, morning. Cool, cool. How we doing? How we doing? Everything seems to be working. Good here. Perfect. Awesome, awesome. What's up, y'all? Yeah, so you probably gathered that today talking timeline. Talking, since basically the Great One, pre-Erd Tree, all that kind of stuff, all the way through to where we end up as Elden Lord and start a new order. I took a crack at it and realized that there's way more complexities to it than I kind of gave credit to. So figured it'd be helpful for everybody. Honestly, probably should have done this in one of like the first streams I did before jumping into a whole playthrough of it. But I think this will help get a better idea as far as exactly what things were like pre-Erd Tree, the events that took place to get the Erd Tree to where it is kind of in its prime within the Godfrey, age of abundance, all that kind of stuff, age of plenty, and then all the way through the events of the Shattering into us. So, but before I do that, I wanted to, I was thinking about this morning, and I think it'll help contextualize and give images as far as what I believe is happening here within the game. So yesterday, I had a morning meeting that I was leading at work, and then I went to the gym, and then I came home and kind of relaxed, and then I had a holiday party. And all four of those events, I was kind of portraying different aspects of myself to get the certain situation that I was in to better be liked, to better be seen by people, to be more respected. So like for my budget meeting, I wore my glasses and I was really well prepared, and I was very serious, and I was very business oriented and all that kind of stuff. And then when I went to the gym, I wore a black hoodie with my hood up, and I was playing dark music, and I was, not super friendly. I definitely wasn't rude to people by any means, but I wasn't being friendly. I wasn't really caring about anybody. I was just in that moment portraying, kind of tapping into that darker side. And then when I came back home and I relaxed and it was just me and I wasn't doing anything or trying to impress anybody, it was just kind of my very base, just Jake. And then when I went to the holiday party, I dressed up and I tried to get people to laugh and all this different type of stuff. And all of these different things are just different personas that are in different masks that I wore four, and probably more than that, but four major ones within the scope, within the span of 12, 14 hours or whatever. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here in this game. I think as we see Marika developing, and we see her going through these stages and developing certain personas and certain aspects of herself, she's able fluidly, like I am and like we all are, to kind of whatever the situation calls for, to tap into that persona. And I think that that's kind of how we need to look at it pre-fracture. And then post-fracture, these personas are now up for debate, almost, for whether she wants to reintegrate them back into her psyche that she's rebuilding, if there's certain ones that should be left out, if there's more powerful ones, if there's weaker ones, and how do we bring all those back into balance. So I thought it was just kind of an interesting, personal experience that I think is being shown in the game. So with that in mind, let's just dive into the timeline and start from the beginning, the one great, and then work our way up. And I want to do it in kind of two different phases. So I want to do, today it'll all be the story of the game itself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I wanted to today just the timeline of the game and see if we can get a better understanding of from the one great all the way to today, and then either, depending on how much time we have and stuff like that, start. I don't want to just apply, the human psychology developmental stages to it. I kind of want to have a separate one that goes from the birth of a human, this first stage of life, which is all about developing your ego and developing these different personalities of yourself, and then the second stage of life, which is like this inward look of who the hell really are we, and then see if those two timelines have any sort of congruency to them and any sort of correlation to them. And I think it'll help give, if it is the case, it'll help give a little bit more footing and a little bit more substance to what we're talking about. So first thing is, and I can just pull, that's not what I want. How about that? Okay, so the first thing is how I'm kind of break this down into is the Great Tree, Crucible, pre-Erd Tree era, because it's all kind of, there doesn't seem to be a specific, like, it went from this to this to that. They all kind of have very similar explanations of what they are. And then go from that to kind of the Crucible into the Erd Tree, and then go from the Erd Tree into kind of the Golden Order, and then the Golden Order into the Shattering, and then the Shattering into basically when we arrive. So that's kind of how I'm structuring this. So it seems like the one great is the very beginning of the story of Elden Ring. We hear it from Hayata and all of this different type of stuff about everything that there was came from the one great, and then something happened and there came fractures and births and souls and blah 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 blah. And the whole Frenzied Flame ending is all about how do we get, like, they want to come back to this stage where there is no division, everything is just one kind of soup. The thing is that, so when we look at aspects of the Crucible, it's, this is a manifestation of the Erd Tree's primal vital energies, an aspect of the primordial Crucible where all life was once blended together. So the Erd Tree, or the Crucible, the One Great, and the Great Tree all seem to be more or less synonyms for one another. So it's really really hard to discern between, okay, so is the one great a specific thing? Does it predate the crucible, the great tree? It definitely predates the tree. I mean, we definitely have that the tree seems to have sprung from the crucible. But besides that, the other elements of it seem to be, and there's a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of game description of, there's just this period of time called time immemorial, and that seems to be kind of where this stuff takes place. It's just kind of this random. There's almost no time, which sort of makes sense. Like if you think about it from, like if everything is conjoined, then time would be within that. So whether these elements, how I'm not necessarily displaying them linearly here. I'm just trying to capture exactly what was happening pre-Erd tree, and there doesn't seem to be a discernible. So the one great is literally like it's just, it seems to be the point in time pre-fractures, pre-life, basically, and maybe not even pre-life, but where everything was still kind of together as this one. To me, the one great and the crucible are synonyms for one another. Like the crucible, where all life was once blended together, and then the only description we get of the one great is all that there is came from the one great, and then there came fractures. So all that there is, and then the crucible being where all life was once blended together. It seems like it's very hard to get a set division between those two things. And we know that within this time frame, does that make sense? And I'm also going to be leaning on you guys as far as like be a progenitor. Yeah, I think so. So I think so. Another item description that we get is, let me just pull it up here. Which one is it? Okay, so the oh boy. So we get the item description of the Elden stars. And it says that long ago the Greater Will sent a golden star bearing a beast into the lands between, which would later become the Elden Ring. And then we know that from that came the Elden Beast. It was a vassal beast of the Greater Will and living incarnation of the concept of order. So I don't know if there is a item that is for sure linked to the Elden Beast being. Let me look for that actually. feel like sorry, I just want to check on so America's hammer, stone hammer made in lands of the Newman, outside lands between, a tool which Queen America shattered. The Elden Ring Radagon intended to repair it. The hammer partially broke upon shattering the ring, splintering its fragments, remnants of a god who should have lived a life eternal. I feel like there was a item description of the Elden Beast being the incarnation of the Elden Ring, but it must be that the Elden Beast is the incarnation of the concept of order. And another thing that we know is the Elden Beast, the god of eternal. Primeval current, primordial soup, primeval current. What's up, Max? Thanks for joining. Yeah, so I think the primordial current, and I kind of touched kind of upon this in my last one, was that if you read the description of weapons held by Crucible Knights, yeah, we can do that. Okay, which ones? Let me see here. Do I not have? Sorry, I have like 5 different games going right now. Do you mean like the aspects of the Crucible as far as like the incantations, or the actual weapons themselves? So one of the ancient Erdtree incantations, this is a manifestation of Erdtree's primal vital energies, an aspect of the primordial crucible where all life was once blended together. Okay, let me I think my other character has this sword is imbued with ancient holy essence. Its red tint exemplifies the nature of the primordial gold, said to be close to nature, and nature to life itself. Yeah. Let's see. I think she might. Where is it? Actually, Ruin's Greatsword would be good too, but yeah, here we go. Just as Gilad said. Thank you, Gilad. So the primordial form of the Erdtree is close in nature to life itself, and the spear modeled on its crucible is imbued with ancient holy essence. Um, and then, since I'm here, the Ruin's Greatsword. So originally, rebel from a ruin which fell from the sky, Fair Missoula. The surviving fragment was honed into a weapon. The ruin it came from crumbled when struck by a meteorite. As such, this weapon harbors its destructive power. So, what I am, I think what makes the most sense to me within this timeline is that in the we know that there was the age of the dragons in in ancient times pre-Erdtree, that came from Fair Missoula. Fair Missoula was struck by the meteorite, and the description of the Elden Beast, or the sorry, not the Elden Beast, but the falling stars, is that it sent a golden star to the lands between, and that was basically the start of order. And I think it's fair to assume that this statue in the Elden Ring that we see here in Fair Missoula in Malkuth's boss room is that same concept, explained in a different way. So to me, the little girl represents order, and then the three beasts around her represent chaos. And to me, the Elden Ring is basically saying the same exact thing. So out of the chaos, out of this primordial kind of very root-like structure of this vital energy where all life was blended, you're getting the start of order and the start of this fractured life. So would you guys agree? Right, so Mags, are you so can you explain further? So are you saying that the red tinge, this red gold, it obviously predates the Erdtree. Are you saying that is the color of pre-Erdtree? And if so, is there other colors for, say, like the one great? Yeah, for sure. Just get this down here. Ruins. Sorry, just putting a couple things in here to make better sense of. specify the question again. So I'm just saying. So Max, you're saying that color gives a good narrative to the timeline, which I agree. My question back to you would be: is there in my opinion, the red gold is like the scientific theory of microscopic cells being struck by lightning, which cause mitochondria to form. Oh, whoa. To an outer god or other external event. I mean, this is the concept of the crucible, right? So you're saying, okay, so Mags, just so I'm getting an idea of where you're coming from. So the one great would be a primordial soup. Let's just say it's kind of this swampy area in pre-Earth, in Earth's super early history. Yeah, I agree. I just want to get some sort of accurate description of the timeline. And then from there, so you're saying the one great predates the Crucible? Is that what you're saying, Max? Okay, gotcha. Which I think is fair. I don't know that we have enough evidence of quote unquote the one great to bifurcate the two, but I think, I mean, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, and I'm not necessarily agreeing with you. I'm just like, it makes sense, right? Like, that they would be separate things, but the way that they're described seems to be one and the same. But either way, I mean, the timeline that I have here starts with the one great, and then within that is kind of this time immemorial crucible, blah 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 blah. But what we know for sure is that at some point later on, after some set period of time, the Greater Will sent a star bearing a beast into the lands between, so the Elden Beast, which would later become the Elden Ring. So, and the fact that this is, it's in its description, it says it creates a stream of golden shooting stars. So I think, shooting star is a meteorite. So I think to make the leap from here, right, to here, and say that the ruin it came from crumbled when struck by a meteor as such a weapon. So it seems that in the time of the dragons, or in the time of the beastmen, or in the time of Fair Missoula, is kind of the beginning of the more accurate timeline. Because from there we have a lot more evidence as to if you can read a fusion report out loud, it's hard to see it. Yep. Yeah, so in the a bunch of the aspects of the Crucible incantations basically all read the same thing, that it's an aspect of the primordial crucible where all life was once blended together. And then the helm says holds the power of the crucible, the primordial form of the Erd tree, and then this, I'm just connecting it, the crucible knights to Godfrey in that one. And then we know that the great true roots are for sure in Fair Missoula. So the great tree predates, if Fair Missoula is kind of the beginning of all this, then the great tree is also clumped into this kind of one great crucible synonym that we're kind of unfolding here. So you can see here the map of deep root depths. It's the very depths of the Ur tree. Majestic's root lies at the source of the Ansel and the Shofia rivers. Here too begins the network of the great tree roots that spread throughout the lands between. And then also ancestors are kind of like clumped into this as well. Their timeline is super vague. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it seems like the chaos flame, that color, like you guys are kind of putting together right now, seems to want to go back to this time. Right. Yep. So let's just add in flame. Let's see. So it seems that the goal is to go back to the one great. Scorpion charms. All right, let's see what we got. So we have the accoutrement worn by the ancestral followers, said to be a budding horn. The ancestral followers believe that the horns of a long-lived beast continue to bud like antlers over and over again until the beast one day becomes an ancestral spirit. Nothing different there, nothing different there, nothing different, nothing different. Is there a specific one? Oh, the scorpion ones? Scorpion ones seem all to be associated with assassins. Which is really interesting, actually, because it seems like the assassins are the ones that they... Yeah. So if we also know that there seems to be the scorpion also seems to resemble or indicate rot. So it's interesting that Rod is also associated with these assassins who carried out the Night of the Black Knives. Crucible Feather Talisman. Talisman finished by feathers. Embodies different aspects of various creatures. Said to have grown on the human body long ago. A vestige of the crucible of primordial life. Born partially of devolution. It was considered a signifier of the divine in ancient times. And basically, as civilization advanced, hopefully I have that. Should. Dagger fashioned from a great scorpion's tail, glistening with scarlet rod. Ceremonial tool used by heretics, crafted from the relic of a sealed outer rod. Huh. Interesting. Kind of seems random. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was going, Galad, is that these different beast creatures definitely seem to represent the shadow of their person. So I don't know if this is saying like from the shadow came this, this goddess of rot, or the god of rot. They worship the horns too, as in crucible horns. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that seems to be the only horns of long-lived beasts continue to bud like antlers. Yeah. So definitely, I mean, I definitely think it's the only horns that we really hear talk of are kind of crucible horns. This horn began to sprout on a beast that typically bears no horn, perhaps a vestige of the primordial crucible. So there you have it. Yeah, that's true, Glad. It could have. I definitely think, if they were going to make it not mean anything, I don't think they'd put anything on it. Like, there's plenty of weapons that don't have anything at the hilt. I'd find it hard to believe with the significance of wolves and beasts that they would just place it randomly on an item of that much importance. So I think it's fair to clump together the ancestor followers with the age of the crucible. Unless you guys think otherwise. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Oh. Ancient dragons who ruled in prehistoric era before the Earth Tree, who protected their lord as a living rock, shaped like a dragon, symbolic of all manners of protections. yeah, I mean, pre-Erd Tree, it sounds like everything was kind of in its natural cycle of life and death and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I think, it's um, yeah, definitely could. Oh, thanks, Max. If you guys also wouldn't mind hitting the like button, it goes a long ways. It helps with the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. Um, Taylor, yeah, as we kind of talked about with the outer gods seeming to represent these um, mental illnesses or pathologies of some sort. I think that those are expressed in they are around us. How am I trying to say this? Like whether we are experiencing them personally, I think that we are able to understand, even as children, that these forces are at play outside of our inner world, if that makes sense. So it could it could be that um, all forms of metal, such as gold. Yeah, yeah. Gold definitely seems to be. It's also the color associated with the ego, um, which I know I'm trying to stay away from that topic, but it's it's hard to ignore. Yeah, yeah. I also think that they are, like we've talked about before. They're the antithesis to structured religion and to structured or organized religion, um, because they are one for one. They are 100% under the worldview and under the doctrine of animism, and we've talked about before that that's the antithesis to ordered religion or structured religion. Um, I want to jump just quickly back over to this one and just kind of can ignore the top for now. That's so the omen, and what else did you want to talk about? Perfumer descriptions. All right, let's look into it. Regal omen. So doll of a curse-born baron from the Erdtree's royal line. Omen babies born of royalty do not have their horns excised, but instead kept underground, unbeknownst to anyone, imprisoned for eternity. These memorial fetishes are fashioned in secret. Um, Shackles were used to bind the accursed people called the Omen, and these ones were made particular, blah, blah, blah. Though faint, the shackles still retain vestiges of power, enough to trap the once bound Margit. And then you have the same one for Mogs. Let's keep going. So ancestral spirits exist as a phenomenon outside the purview of the Erd Tree, life spreads from death, blah, 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 blah. Where do I have perfumer stuff? Perfume bottle. The art of perfuming was once jealously guarded in the capital, but after the perfumers were Drafted into surface during the shattering, the art became widely practiced throughout the lands between. Interesting. Ancient, nomadic. I thought there was. Oh, prefer. Okay. Contains martial techniques beyond the proprietor of an ordinary physician. Contains perilous techniques that a physician wouldn't attempt. Let's see here. Yeah, when did the Nox either rain or go underground? When did Estelle arrive? Lots of good questions around that, including how does the Bloodhound Knight get both underground and associated with Blade? How does the Bloodhound Knight get both underground and associated with... Are you talking about Darrowell? Instance therapy. Breathe it in, baby. Alright, let's look at... Do I have... Okay, so these sisters, members of a cold-blooded race who wielded flowing weapons, became puppets. Spirit of archers who belong to the fallen hawks, a band of soldiers that once explored the Eternal City. Their arrows are imbued with the cold ghost flame, though their methods somewhat crude, they work well, blah, 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 blah. The big spear one above the snowfields. Is Blyde connected to that one? In the snowfields? Remembrance of Estelle, natural born of the void, hewn into the Erd tree, the power of its namesake, blah, blah, blah. A malformed star born in the lightless void far away. Once destroyed an eternal city and took away their sky, a falling star of ill omen. Yeah, much before the Nox. The impact in Fair Missoula and the impact in Limgrave had to be different events. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the big bloodhound spirit. No, I know what you mean. I know which one you're talking about. I'm just wondering if... So are you saying no, Blyde is not connected to that one? Because obviously he's connected to Darrowell. Yeah, actually, I think Galad's right. I'm pretty sure that is a dragonkin. You think the snowfields were once underground? What makes you say that the dragonkin are the same as the Bloodhound Knight? I could probably just go there. I don't know if they reappear. Let me read a little bit more about Estelle. Okay. Bastard Stars. Flail which deals magic damage, having been imbued with power by the remembrance of Estelle. Formed of the same many-colored star debris that comprise the form of the natural born of the void. Um, hmm. Reappears. Okay. I mean, once destroyed an eternal city that took away their sky, a falling star of ill omen. It's hard not to associate that with the Elden Beast, right? Like it's the descriptions are incredibly similar. E. Um, Dawn. Meteorite of Estelle. A manifestation of the power with which Estelle leveled the Eternal City. Yeah, Senator, they were external events. Um, the Eternal Darkness creates a space of darkness that draws in sorceries and incantations. The forbidden sorcery of Cilia, town of sorcery. Originally a lost sorcery of the Eternal City. The despair that brought about its ruin made manifest. Man. Stars of Ruin. When Lusak glimpsed into the primeval current, he beheld the final moments of a great star cluster, and upon seeing it, he too was broken. Like Rot and the Elden Beast. Right. Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, so the Elden Beast was clearly a golden meteorite. It took out Fair Missoula and is the concept of order. It seems that there is the counterpart to that is Estelle. So one is much like order, faith, all this different type of stuff, and the other one seems much more chaotic, intelligence, kind of the blackness, the void, all that kind of stuff. Max has a lot of questions. Um, well, aren't the Nox just the people of Nox Stella? Nameless Eternal City. And then there's Nokron, the Eternal City. I'll do my best, Max. Yeah, it's interesting that we find Estelle, um, basically right where Ronnie kills her two fingers. Um, hmm. And the issue with the word eternal is that in a timeline there's no way to place it, because eternal literally means it has no beginning, it has no end, it's just always there. Um, and a lot of, even time immemorial at least gives us some sort of descriptor to and qualifier of to exactly, it's just very long ago basically. And then but eternal is a very specific word. I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be hard not to just um, it'd be hard not to assume it was Noxtella, right? Like, but there's three eternal cities that we know of. Yeah. Um, there's history and prehistory, but primeval current is misleading because a current can't come from nothing. Japanese translation of primeval current also implies as a river source. I think how I see the primeval current is just the space-time continuum, basically. Like, I think when the item descriptions of Azure and Lusat, that they glimpsed into it and they saw nothingness and it broke their mind, I think what they're seeing is the end of time. And kind of working off of that, it's not a hard conclusion to assume that's what the primeval current means. has no sky. Okay, let's check that out. Whoops, different character. Hope it's not. Yeah, but so does it come from the void, like the same one Estelle came from? Man, why does this stream look so bad? That is really weird. I mean, Mags, if you can associated with corpse wax, places associated with Malekith. You guys are going too fast for me. What is the deep root depths, and why is Godwin there? What are the grafted gargoyles doing guarding the deep root depths? Where else do we find them? In Lindell. So, do you guys want me to go to the deep root depths? And what the hell, what corpse wax are you talking about? Okay. Can you help me, Galad, with corpse wax? I'm not super following that. I mean, it doesn't have a night sky, but it's also like inside a tree, isn't it? Add these questions into your board. Okay. I think I have. Minted with blackened corpse wax deals holy damage, such as the mark of those who serve Malekith the Black Blade. A patchwork of champions. Deep root depths is the underground root of the Erd tree, and Godwin's corpse and his followers are trying to resurrect his soul. Verticality of the map, we can we guess? I feel like I'm being told a riddle. Can we guess what? Say it. My brain is too dumb for this. Yeah. Yep. So he would have been brought to the depths. To what? Try to bring him back to life through the roots of the Erd tree? Yep, I do. This character should have everything open. Oh, I haven't even killed this guy. Perfect. Show us the body. Okay. Alright. Who was he talking to? And you ghoul. What's up? Okay. Every Godwin's like a fungus source at the bottom of the tree. Every mausoleum warrior are spirits because they've already died to protect Godwin. Dreams and hopefully in death they could reach where Godwin's soul is. Oh, he's talking to Fia. What? Is he? It's interesting that now, at this point, he's no longer like holding the eyes of the silver counterpart. He's like embracing it. Um, okay, show you the body. You got it. I mean, to me, I think I know what Godwin represents, and it's I would say akin to like a fungus, but I would say from that exactly what just happened is what they were protecting him from. Fia seems pretty devoted to just letting people die and for people to not keep fucking with them. Hood of black cloth that covers the whole head, worn by Fia, the deathbed companion, on her journey after being exiled from her home. The fabric itself is soft as silk. Great. The fabric itself is soft as silk, thin enough for those that embrace can feel every pulse, every bit of her warmth. what is Deathblight and how does it fit into Godwin Mikola relationship timeline? Every mausoleum warrior are spirits because they've already died to protect Godwin. This idea that death is interconnected with dreams, and hopefully in death they could reach where Godwin's soul is. I agree with that. More of like a parasite, probably then. I think we got a little off. I think we got a little wayward here. Godwin's body is like a fish as well because the idea of ocean sleep interconnected with an Elden Ring. I believe it draws from a specific religion, but I can't remember. Maybe Shinto. Yeah, things like oceans, bodies of water, things like that are often connected to like the unknown. I would say the unconsciousness. Things that kind of dwell underneath the surface that you don't know about. And Miyazaki uses this a lot in his other, like for example, Bloodborne. You can look down and you can see the mass of the ship from what is trying to be hidden. Sounds good, crazy. So it's like, it's not necessarily death, I wouldn't say. It's like what you're trying to hide from the world, what you're trying to hide from yourself, kind of a thing. A realm beyond our capabilities. Yeah. Yeah. Just a whole bunch of random shit. 7 likes already? Come on, boys, that's great. Hell yeah, that means a lot to me. Love it. Okay, so I mean, what we're looking at for sure is a significant event. But let's go back to the timeline. Let's try to jumping around like this is it's too difficult to keep things honed in. So I'm going to try to mediate this thing a little bit, and we're going to go back to the timeline from once we left off. Okay, so I think what we've gathered, and I think it's fair to assume, is that the One Great could have very well preceded the Crucible, but doesn't seem to have any sort of substantial difference between the two. So it seems like the One Great, the Crucible, the Great Tree, all these things are synonyms for one another, and they represent this time immemorial, just super distant past when everything was blended together and there was no fractures and all this type of stuff. Okay. And then from there, it seems like the next major event is that the Greater Will sent a golden star bearing a beast in lands between, which would later become the Elden Ring. And that meteor is for sure the same meteor that took out Fair Missoula. And we know that the Greater Will, the Elden Beast, is the concept of order. So, let's just put this in, concept of order. Concept of order starts. I think that's maybe not that big, that's crazy. It seems like from the One Great Crucible, blah, 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 the very next thing that happens is the concept of order. And I think that we are seeing that here, like I've said before. Is that fair to assume with y'all? Like, does this give us a jumping off point that we can kind of continue? Like we're all in agreement here on that. And it sounds like this is maybe what I should do actually is bring all of this. Let's see here. Concept of order is to bring. Whoops. Is to bring this stuff up here. Let's see. Dragons and shit. Oop. And this almost seems to be like this is split. Let me put something in here and see if let's see here. What the heck? Like it, yeah. I think it's safe to associate the wolves with chaos. Not sure about the child with order, though. What may say that, Glad? Yeah, I would put the entire Eternal Cities if you want to include. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Was a single eternal city once? Don't even know. It's possible. We know Fair Missoula is associated with the Beastmen and the whole chaos thing, going back to the metaphor. Could we associate the child with America's self? Being closer to chaos than order. So that's a really great it's a good thought, but the self would be represented in the crucible, in the one great. It is everything that's not fractured and divided. That's the self. So here, like, I think it's very clearly showing. Oh, let me put this back. Warm Fates are also Fair Missoula, but not only Fair Missoula. Yep. So that would equate the Frenzy Flame with the process of individuation. Yeah. I mean, like, I've always said that it doesn't seem that... So the reason I believe that we see Melina at the end embodying the Glomite Queen is because she has basically reassimilated as a whole person. And that could be, right, like, it could be that the Chaos Flame, it just hits the reset button, and in the DLC, we rebuild things. But yeah, Galad, I tend to agree with that assessment. So, like, below the more orderly Elden Ring, the more root structures, like, if that was squished back together, that would represent the self. And if the three wolves and the little girl were one, that would represent the self. But what we're seeing here is the birth of fractures, right? It's the birth of order and chaos. So it would be really hard to associate one thing with chaos and not the other with order. Because this whole game is about opposites and duality. The three wolves are the same as the first spirit ash you receive. Ronnie gives you after casting a sleep mist and giving you torrent, who are both associated with Saint Trina. Alright, let's look at those. Spirits of wolves chase from their pack. So that right there, to me, that very first is the same exact thing that we're seeing with, like, the Elden Beast and representing order. Is like wolves chase from their pack is the same thing as, like, it's a fracture. It's chaos splitting from order. They later encounter a nameless tarnished, who welcomed them as hunting companions. Wolf spirits overwhelm enemies with their agility. Blah blah blah. And then we have this spirit now. Not that one though. Wait, isn't it not? Where the hell is that thing? key item? Hmm? Oh, there it is. Spirits can only be summoned, blah, 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 blah. Bewitching branch. Yeah. So my question is it seems that there's almost a an opposite side of the coin with the things that are happening above the surface and lands between. Like it seems like this the meteorite that hit, the same thing happened underground, and even the fractures like that we're seeing play out in the lands between, like it's almost like the very earth itself is fractured as well. Hello. Does that make sense to anybody? Like it might even make more sense to like put these things like on the timeline, right? Like not necessarily that, but and then these two events happened and the concept of order starts and oops, sorry. It's almost like in the underground, the concept of disorder or chaos. Okay. The fuck are you yapping about? Yeah, dude. Oh, okay. Yeah, just hop in, man. If you, believe if you got questions and stuff, just let them rip. This is a very, working timeline. I'm not necessarily presenting anything. I'm just kind of, we're working through it together. And actually, so maybe what makes even more sense is that this would be here. Like this would also live on the timeline. And the meteorite kind of fractures the very earth. Okay. What do we think? Should we move on to after the And actually, now that I think about it, I wonder, do I have that? I must. Yeah, I have to. What? What is it? How do I not have that? That's annoying. Let me see. What is that? City treasure. Finger Slayer, right there we go. Hidden treasure of the eternal city of Nokron, a blade said to have been born of a corpse. This blood-drenched fetish is a proof of high treason committed by the eternal city and symbolizes its downfall. It's able to harm the greater will and its vassals. Maybe we should go. Maybe we should go there. Wait. Where do you find that? This Finger Slayer blade. Nokron. Okay, so not this one. Not there. Where do we learn about the dialogue that God, when spirit's dead, but not his body? Hi, Lanny. You got a shark?
Yeah.
Oh my, dude. How are you?
Good.
Yeah. Did you have fun with Grandma and Grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Good.
had fun.
You had fun? Good, good, good.
Your mom get here.
Oh, yeah?
Mom get here.
Did you and Mama go do something?
Yeah.
That's my boy. That's my son. I don't know if we've I don't think the opening cinematic directly tells us that the that Godwin is like split from his. You think I'm dying? Hold up. That's my. Oh, you're saying in here? That's my boy. That's my son. Oh, I think one of the mimics turned into a giant right there. Chris Mark explains the death. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to also add into here. There seems to be a split between intelligence and science seems to be down here, and then on the flip side there seems to be a split of I'll just put it up here, faith and religion. Okay. Yeah, Bly tells us to go down there. Yep. Because it's very much... And then it seems to be... Let's see, do I have... The Lost Black Moon. The moon of Noxtella was the guide of countless stars. What's the item or the piece of dialogue that talks about the reason that the Nox are underground is because they provoke the ire of the greater will? Where is that? You can equate the fall of the eternal cities and the lands between, transition from the pagan Roman Empire to the Byzantine Christianity, which later become monotheism, just like America's Age. Yep. And I would take that a step further, and not even necessarily America's Age. I agree with America's Age, but it seems like the symbol of that is the Erd tree. hero's rune? I don't think that talks about. Let's see, is there a couple different? Okay. There were once heroes who walked the battlefields abundantly blessed by the Erd tree itself, who upon earning their honor simply died. Can anybody remember what that what that's called? Or where we see that dialogue of Nokron? Punished for their high treason against. Eternal darkness. Let's see. Lost sorcery. It doesn't seem. Whoops. So, I recommend Tarnished Archaeologist videos on the Night of the Black Knives to explain that further about historical conflict on religion. Cool, we'll do. So, it seems like there is a god on the surface level of the lands between the greater will, who is the concept of order. And there seems to be the god of the underground, of the dark moon, who represents more chaos and oblivion and science. And I wonder if the one great was together these two quote unquote gods. Yeah, yeah. And so the whole mimic thing, to me, um, relates directly to kind of the process of artificial intelligence, of CRISPR, of cloning, where basically human beings become the gods. And so that directly means that the concept of this eternal God that creates everything is kind of out the window, because now we are becoming that God. And I almost wonder if that thought is what the Fingerslayer blade is portraying. I can't remember, like, where the hmm. Because what you're kind of doing when you get down to that, through that scientific process of creating life of your own, and you are playing God, is you are, by doing that, you are killing God. And so the blind faith associated with the idea of God is being questioned. Hmm. So the one great, it's possible that the one great is order slash faith plus chaos slash science come together. Then from the split, you would have so you'd have greater will up here. Oh. You'd have the dark moon down here. Yes, it does. The pickled turtle meat description says that birth stopped happening because death stopped happening. And once we get so then this means that this would also, she would also represent the one great. Because she represents order and chaos, life and death. I feel like we're getting somewhere here. I kind of like, so for now we'll just do this just to give kind of a visual of the Erd tree. Make it in the big scheme of things, we know what happens on the surface level, right? Like, I feel like we have a pretty good understanding of what happened, the major events at least, the most important events prior to the Erd tree. And then we know what happens, the arc of events that takes place from like the order and greater wills side of things after this, crucible era. And it seems like my guess would be that the shadow of the Erd Tree, the DLC, is going to be the flip side, because we don't seem to have a story that correlates to the bottom half of this timeline as we do pre-Erd Tree. Like, it seems like once this division happened, it seems like the bottom half kind of just stops, and we don't get a full picture of things. Like, we get Godfrey, and we get the Erd Tree growing, and we get the Golden Order, and we get Radigan, and blah, 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 blah. But it seems like what's happening beneath just ends. And I wonder if the DLC is going to be us playing that portion of that. Getting a better understanding of kind of these eternal cities and the Dark Moon and exactly what's taking place that leads America to the shattering. Hmm. 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 Hey, Bubba. Hey.
People downstairs.
Mm-hmm. Um, may have to wrap this up. Um, but before I go, um, is there anything kind of outstanding about this age, pre-Erd Tree that seems to either contradict this or like a big thing that we're missing? Aristo, I always have my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to hop off here. Um,
Yeah, we
we'll
get
continue this tomorrow. I'll add some things to kind of fill it in, and we'll get a as far as the Erd Tree, and we'll see exactly where this is going. Is the moon god there?
Yeah, that
Um,
was weird.
let's bring that question to the next one, my man. Maybe I'll hop on later this afternoon, but as you can hear, my son is right here, so it should be one of the earliest gods. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I might hop on tonight. If I do, I'll give, an hour's notice or something like that if you guys want to hop on and keep this conversation going. But I will see y'all on the next one. If you haven't already, subscribe, like the video, all that kind of stuff really helps me out. So much appreciated, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.